tonight's we're in executive session. It's about
7:05. May 23rd meeting. Roll call, please, Frank.
Councilperson Fagioni? Here. Gribben?
Here.
Oliva?
Here.
Olivo? Rubio?
Here.
Willerman? Here. Mayor DiDonato?
Here.
Present also Mike Malinsky, Town Solicitor. Robert Batiste, Public Works Manager. Mark Herman of ARH, Town Engineer. Notice of this meeting has been posted and given to official newspapers. Please familiarize yourselves with the fire exits to the rear and right of council chambers. Please do not proceed beyond the front benches without invitation from the mayor to do so. And also, each person who wishes to address council will be allotted 5 minutes.
All rise for the pledge, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public to be heard on action items only. Come on up to the mic if you'd like to be heard on action items. Or if anybody, I'll tell you what, maybe we'll extend it. If anybody has anything they want to come on up and talk about, come on up to the mic. Anybody? First of two public options. Seeing no one, we'll close the first public portion. Can I get approval of the executive minutes from April 25 and the council regular meeting of April 25? Can I get a motion from council, please?
So moved.
Gribben first.
Second.
Second. Oliva. Discussion on the minutes. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have a couple presentations. We're going to dispense with the regular order of business. First, we're going to bring up Senator Stanfield and Assemblyman Teresi and Umba. They have something they'd like to share with the town. Good evening,
Good evening,
Senator.
Mr. Mayor, Council. So nice to see everyone again. Just here because we're doing a town tour, so we're making our way through all the towns in the 8th District. You're our first stop, and for good reason, too. I started coming to Hammonton a few years ago, and I love this town. It's amazing. People are amazing. Everybody knows each other, a sense of community, and I always feel welcome here. So it's just a pleasure to be here. And during the time I was in the Assembly, we were able to reach out and help some people. I'm in the Senate now, but during the pandemic, there were so many times that constituents called us from Hammonton and many other places, thousands of people that needed help with unemployment, other services, and we were able to help the town with some things that needed to be done through the New Jersey Transit and DUP and some other sources. So we're always here to be a resource for you, and that's the message that we bring tonight, that we're here to help anything we can do for any of the people in the community. If they're having a problem with the state agency and you need somebody to intervene, we're happy to help. That's what we're here for. That's what makes the job worthwhile. It's not just passing bills in Trenton, it's really helping people. And we've been very happy to do that, and I'm just happy to be here tonight, and I'll turn it over to Assemblyman Teresi.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator. It's nice to be back here. I think it's the first time in this meeting since I was a councilman. And so anyway, as the Senator said, we're doing a tour throughout the entire district. Hammonton just happened to be our first available night together. We are doing whatever we can, the outreach to every municipality. I've probably got some more data here that I just wanted to say. I've reached out to the mayor. I know Councilman Fagioni, Mr. Batiste. Some of the things, as Senator Stanfield said, I know she worked on, was it Route 54, by getting paved, potholes. We have, the biggest thing is our office, which is in Mount Holly, and we will be moving to Marlton off of 7073 real soon. We have a really good office that is very on board with what's going on in the state, and I will say that we have not only the governor's ear, I think, with Gene winning and our district to accomplish a lot. One of the things we're looking at is we discussed, I think you guys discussed the last meeting, is drainage issues. So I want the residents, I've gotten so many calls from residents, we can only handle state roads. We can't do the county roads, but I believe, Mr. Batiste, we had the DOT contact you about flushing. There was a pipe that was crushed that we're looking into, some other stuff. And we did, in addition to that, I just want to say, I talked to the mayor about the fencing along the railroad tracks. We reached out to New Jersey Transit and the DOT, and I believe it was, I have emails here as late as April 27th. They said they're going to fix whatever fencing they can. I asked them to replace all the fencing with black fencing. They said they don't have the money for that. That has to go through a complete, I guess, the budget, which we're going to ask for. We're asking for everything for Hammonton.
Thank
But
you.
they're going to fix the
deserve it.
fencing. You do. They're going to fix the fencing. And from what I understand, this email that a couple of the do not cross track signs they felt were outdated, and said they were going to replace them as well. But what I want to tell Mr. Batiste is that the governor's office, Sam, she wants to set up a meeting. If Hammonton's not getting what they need, they want to set up a meeting to cover the Route 30, 206, 54 drainage issues, I guess New Jersey Transit, DOT. If we could get a hit list of any item in Hammonton that you feel we are not getting attention from the state, now's the time to do it. We have their ear. We set up, I know our Chief of Staff, Brian Woods, I think reached out to you guys, and whatever we could do, we're on board with getting Hammonton, whatever we can do for them. So I didn't know if there was any other stuff that you guys had questions on. I had a couple of these emails. I think Mr. Batiste was copied on all of them. But we're here to work together. For as the mayor says, all 15,000 people, we care about it. I know I like to have a good time with all you guys and all, but at the end of the day, we're here for the people of Hammonton to do the job we can for you guys. I don't know if you have any questions for us before we turn it over.
Council, have any questions?
Mr. Teresi, you going to give your cell phone out the way the mayor does?
It's posted on the internet, you know.
I'm only kidding.
Well, what was that, like Sanford and Son, when you're buying things, 609-820-8728. You can call me anytime.
You did that well. No, but anyway, thank you very much. That's all I like. We appreciate all the help we could get, and some of the drainage, like you're talking, is a long time coming. Thank you very much.
So I know they did go out and do whatever we're asking them. Like I said, I just wanted the residents to know anything. Yes, we're trying to do what we can. I can't do the county stuff. I know you've been in touch with them, and that's a whole nother conversation. But whatever we can do, as I told everybody, Hammonton's on the map. Let's go.
All right, well, I'm sure,
Bobby,
Bobby.
Yeah, we did contact them regarding drainage on, I think it was Grinseri's property. And they went out there and they took some photos originally, and then we took some photos also. But they went out and cleaned probably a 200-foot section downstream from that one manhole. In fact, there was some settlement up top that blocked the pipe. So they did a lot of work out there to clean that up. The other thing I did, I called the Assemblyman and his staff, and we asked if there was any funding available for water main infrastructure extension. So I think he's looking that information up for me, and he said he would get back to me once he found out.
So you bring up a good point. Right now, there's a lot of talk about grants and money. As you know, New Jersey has received a lot of money. I'm on the committee for special committee on infrastructure, and I tell everybody in Hammonton, I don't care how big or how small you think it is, fill it out, let our office know. We attach a letter with the senator and myself and Assemblyman Umba, and we're going to see through it. There's a lot of money out there. You never know. And we're in the process of getting whatever we can for Hammonton. I don't care how big or how small. It doesn't hurt. You got to fill out the paperwork. Got to play to win.
You never know. You're right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Assemblyman. Thank you, Senator. Thanks for coming in tonight and your time and your hard work for the town.
Okay. Thank you, guys. See you later.
Appreciate having you guys here. Thank you.
Next, we'll bring Tacos El Carbone, the food truck, up. Come on up, please.
Thank you. Good. How are you? Hi, how are you? Thank you.
Good evening, good evening.
Okay, good.
Good, how are you?
As you guys can tell, it's 24 years that Taco Salcarbon has been on the corner of Peach and Egg Harbor Road. And again, I come here to present, transparency of what we do. We get inspected, we get insured, fire suppression, fire permits, everything that's, needed for the business to continue to run in a safe manner and continue to be, on our corner. And I just come to, petition for my permit, for my permission, for my license.
And you want to keep the operation the same as the past year?
Yes.
All right.
It was pandemic proof.
Oh, goodness. Anybody from council have any questions?
No questions, just a statement. Since I've been a councilman in 2020, I've looked forward to this presentation. Each now my third year. I think this is always very well done. The booklet, all the information, everything is always here. So I just want to say thank you for making, I personally think, my job a little easier with providing everything so concisely, and for running a delicious and a great business, because we frequent the food truck regularly. So I just wanted to say thank you.
And this is one of this is the only food truck in the downtown area.
That's correct.
When we adjusted the ordinance, 4 years ago, 5 years ago? We did this and grandfathered this food truck in because of the longevity. At the time, I think it was approximately 20 years, if I remember right.
Well, we appreciate it, and to echo Councilman Oliva's comments, I appreciate the seriousness with which you take this. I know that we, added this level of, additional things that you have to do, but each year you knock it out of the park and you present us with the information that we ask for, and you do it in a professional manner, and I appreciate that as well.
I'm good.
With that, I'd accept a motion to approve Taco El Carbone for additional 12 months.
Yeah, I will make that motion.
Olivo first.
Second that motion.
Oliva second. Discussion from council. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fajoni?
Yes.
Gribben?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo?
Yes.
Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried. Would you like to take these back with you? This
back?
way? Yeah, they're
We'll keep one on record.
You want to keep one on the file?
Yeah, I
keep one
got
on
mine.
file.
I'll keep this on the file, yes.
Here, next year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. For another year.
Thank you. Congratulations for 24 years. It's wonderful.
And with that, we'll go to, I believe Princeton Hydro has a presentation for us. Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Probably never been down there.
Jersey League of Conservation Voters a couple years ago, and it was for, there was a couple different consultants that made application. The town chose Princeton Hydro to proceed with completing an initial study associated with the possible provision for a stormwater utility, which exists probably in 18 to 2,000 places throughout the United States. None in New Jersey yet, but there's a lot of applications that are being put forth to evaluate that. So the study that was presented went up to a certain point. There might be there's some additional funds through the New Jersey League of Conservation Voters that the town could apply for, plus Governor Murphy put forth, I think, $10 million proposed in their budget to set aside for municipalities that are looking into the possibility of a stormwater utility. So this initial report was just to do the initial study and do some pros and cons associated with that, and then advising what might be the next step in the process if the town is interested. Thank you.
So, can everyone hear me okay?
There's a button on the, yep, that should be on.
There we go. Okay. Okay, thanks a lot, Bob, for the introduction. I'll be quick. I've got 10 or 15 slides. I'm going to go through them rather quickly. But as he mentioned, my name is Clay Emerson from Princeton Hydro. And basically, what I'm going to talk about is going to be brief. Some project background, a little bit about stormwater utilities if you're not familiar with them and you would have good reason not to be familiar with them, and a quick summary of our findings. And this is just a shot of the draft report. We've gotten some good feedback so far on it, and we're going to wrap that up probably within the next couple weeks. If you haven't had a chance to read that, I can provide it digitally, or Bob can send it to you. This will be a real quick Cliff Notes version of it, though. So if you haven't, that's okay. So the background, as Bob already mentioned, the town applied a competitive grant application for a stormwater utility investigation. The town was, in fact, the only, as far as I know at that time, the only town that was awarded funding through the New Jersey League of Conservation Voters. And our firm interviewed for that work and were successful and had the great opportunity to work with the town on this. And there was, throughout this process, there was some limited stakeholder engagement meetings and, of course, the summary of the report. And I did want to take a moment. I'm bad with names, and I should have put the whole list of people who helped and participated and gave input on this. But there were a number of you, a lot of familiar faces here, as well as in the room. So quickly, what is a stormwater utility? And it's a way to, as you all know, and we just heard about drainage issues and from the previous speakers, this is a fair or equitable way to assess the fees across a wide variety of users for those drainage improvements. So I've got two aerial shots here of some different properties. These happen to be in the town. Which one of these properties generates more stormwater runoff? Is it the box development retail on the left, or is it the individual homeowners? And then the question is, well, which one of those users, if you will, pays more per square foot of their impervious cover? I think we might be surprised by the answer there. So it's a way to collect fees to maintain, to do the work you're already doing, the money you're already spending on drainage improvements. It's not any new money, but just spread it amongst the users in a more equitable fashion. So is it a new thing? No and yes. There are, as Bob mentioned, I think now over 2,000 across the country and more every day. I don't really keep up with it, but as of a couple years ago, there was just a little over 2,000. It is relatively new to New Jersey, one of the last states in the country to have them. And the reason for that is they just recently passed legislation that made it possible in the state of New Jersey. There's really no obvious political patterns. It's not a red thing. It's not a blue thing. And some of them are as old as 50 years. What can if a town were to enact a stormwater utility, what can the funds be used for? Not just anything, right? They can't, it's not a just general fund. It has to be used for drainage improvements, stormwater management in general. But the list is long. So it's not just, upgrading a flood-prone intersection. There's some soft costs in there, public education, all kinds of things. And the last one I think I put in here that I think is appealing to a town like Hammonton is it can be used as matching funds, which would make the procurement of future grant awards a lot easier if you have that dedicated funding source. And really, in my mind, I think the benefit to having a stormwater utility, a potential benefit, is just being able to be proactive, know about those big projects that are coming down the line, plan for them, instead of being reactive, as every town across the state tends to be, when a problem shows itself. So how does it actually work? Very briefly, we measure the use, if you will, in terms of impervious cover. So as I showed with those previous images, a property is assessed based on how much impervious cover it has, and that's obviously where the runoff is disproportionately generated from the pavement. It's relatively easy. It's fair. This is the way it's applied pretty much across the board. Any utility across the country is going to use impervious cover as the metric, or the water meter, if you will. Right? It's not quite the same as a water meter, but it's easily, probably arguably easier to read than a water meter. And then you take your required revenue, what you currently spend, and you divide it by how much impervious coverage is in the town, and that sets your rate. It's quite simple. I am an engineer, so I'm legally required to have one equation in my presentation. There it is. We did some stakeholder engagement. This was kind of deep in the pandemic, so it was unfortunately virtual, not our preference, but we all lived through that. So, but we got some good feedback. We had different elected officials who participated. We had representatives from the Environmental Commission, Hammonton Green Committee, some members of the public, and some input from some limited businesses as well. And we generated, these aren't meant to be read, but we had a virtual idea board, and people, we broke out in subgroups, and it was as interactive as you can have for a virtual event. So one of the first steps, getting more specific to the town of Hammonton, was developing your current level of service, which is just a fancy way to say, hey, how much do you spend on drainage projects in an average year, whatever that means. There's no such thing as an average year, I guess. But and we got 3 years of recent data, and you can see the numbers there on the far right column, varied between 55 and 127,000, averaged about 100,000 a year, which is about $7 per capita, per person. Looked around, that's pretty low. You guys are, doing well with what you have. Bob, we talked kind of casually about some other years it might be more or less, and there might be some, some DOT grant funding in there as well, which is great. So we looked at 3 different levels. The current level, which we're calling basic, the current level of service, $100,000 a year. And then just out of curiosity, if you want to be doing more in terms of drainage, water quality, you have Hammonton Lake. Every town is struggling with drainage issues and keeping up with deteriorating infrastructure. We looked at 2 additional levels, pretty big jumps. If you were to spend $250,000 a year, and then the Cadillac version, $500,000, what does that mean to a user, right? We got to put this in terms of, if I'm a business owner in the town, like what does any of this mean? And part of it is, how much of this do you want to see going on? Drainage improvements, like the photo here, is what do you feel like you're keeping up with it now? Do you think you need to be doing maybe a little bit more? Those are decisions that are up to you all, obviously. And for the town of Hammonton, and we had impervious cover, not very precise data, but fairly accurate data, I would say, from the state that maintains these databases. And what this would mean at the current level of service, looking at the second column in, For the average residential property, and again, there's bigger and smaller properties, but on average, that person, if we stay at the current level of service, 100,000, they're looking at an additional $11 onto there. It would probably, the implementation of this would go on to the utility bill that's currently received. So at your $100,000 level, you're talking about $11 out of the average residential property owner's pocket every year. And again, this isn't a new $11 per year. They're already paying for this in their taxes. So it's just a way to equitably pay for it across users. The average business, there's definitely no such thing as the average business, but that might be more like $30 a year. And you can see at the increasing levels of service, if you wanted to do more on drainage, those numbers would go up accordingly. So just to make it a little more real, large box store, the example here from before, approximately 10 acres of impervious cover. At the current level of service, what you spend currently, about $100,000 a year on average, that property would be paying a little over $800 a year. And a downtown business in downtown Hammonton here that might only have about 4,000 square feet of impervious cover, they'd be paying about $7.50 or so at the current level. So not, not tremendous. One thing in New Jersey and with any stormwater utility is they almost always have a credit or incentive program. And in New Jersey, that's actually a requirement. It's not an option. And why is that important? Well, it gives people an incentive to make things better. It's one of the few things that can actually improve water quality and decrease stormwater runoff and the flooding that we experience, because property owners can put in stormwater systems like you guys have a rain garden that was retrofit at Hammonton Lake Park. People can do things like that and get a fee reduction for implementing something like that. So it does provide an incentive to build or retrofit what we call green infrastructure, rain gardens, things like that. It also might be the incentive if someone has some legacy impervious cover to remove that so that they're not paying for it, frankly. And that's the way, one of the ways that we can actually, when an applicant comes in for land development, that's the only time anyone does any stormwater management is when they're required to. This gives them, existing property owners, a financial incentive, albeit a minor one, to make some improvements. So the next steps, Bob already mentioned that there's some additional funding by the state that's coming around that could be used for this. But the next step is to do a comprehensive feasibility analysis to look at this even more seriously, get some more momentum, get some impervious cover data, look at the aerials, and get some finer tuned, more precise mapping of where the pavement is. And obviously more stakeholder engagements. If this is going to be successful, it needs to include the public. It needs to include the public early and often. And what most towns are doing is setting up in their studies decision points. So you don't do the whole thing. You have one or two stops in between where the elected officials get together and say, okay, here's where we've gone so far. Should we go to the next phase? Instead of spending the money and doing the whole thing and then deciding at the end that it's not a good fit for the town, you kind of break that up and make sure that when you get there, everybody knows, where you're going along the way. And then ultimately, if you decide to implement it, you would need to update your ordinance and work with your utility billing to set up this this utility. So that's. I promised I would keep it brief. I hope I did. But that's the kind of quick summary of what we were able to do for you all. We do look forward to wrapping up the report. I'm available anytime with questions. Bob knows where to find me. Mark does too. But I'd be happy to answer any questions you'd have right now.
Just a couple other things, like this year, between what we're doing on Valley Avenue and what we're doing on Vine Street, what we're spending on drainage purposes for this year, plus what the regular expenditure would be as far as pipe repairs, because, we've been repairing a lot of pipe, whether we had some failures or inlets that are bad and things like that. But we're probably going to spend about $450,000 this year. But you can, like was indicated by Clay, we might be able to use that when we're applying for funds and say that, we have a fee that we set aside or money that we're collecting, and we could use that as maybe another point or two on any applications that we make for DOT or any other applications that we're applying for funding. The other thing that, to take a look at is there's a couple different, like I said, there's a couple different avenues to apply for. One is New Jersey League of Conservation Voters to apply for funds, and then there's the state of New Jersey who's coming out with funds. And in talking with Molly Riley, who's with the New Jersey Conservation League of Voters, there's a number of municipalities presently in New Jersey that are looking for that. And Hammonton is now a Tier B municipality, which there's not a lot of requirements associated with submission to the state of New Jersey, but the state of New Jersey is looking at all municipalities again. And like anything else that's water, sewer, storm sewer, they keep changing the regulations. So there's going to be more things that the town's going to be required to report to the state. So if we can use a dedicated funding source, rather than a reactionary funding source, I think it's at least worth looking into a little bit further to try and again get our questions together. In fact, we had talked about possibly bringing a consultant in, or a municipality, or a mayor or somebody in another municipality that went through the process, and we could ask them questions on how they started, what they did, what was their experience, has it worked out well for them, or has it worked out bad? So those are all things before the town has to make a decision that if we can put down information that we think is important to ask, it would be a better way of trying to make a decision in the long run.
So Clay, I have a question. Hammonton is a unique town because we have a lot of, around Bellevue Avenue and Main Street, we have a lot of businesses and residents that are hooked into, the property's all grade towards the street, right? So the water runs off in the street, storm sewer catches it, takes it where it's got to go. Then we have the other extreme of the equation. We have the more rural or more the farmland where there's no drainage. So, and we also have the subdivisions where somebody did a commercial building where they're putting in a basin and handling their own stormwater, that we don't take a drop off their property, they handle all their own. The properties that we don't take any water from, they wouldn't be charged?
Basically, they would be charged a much reduced rate, is what the legislation intends right now. A couple things you mentioned. Agricultural is exempt. The state put that into the regulations, so they're off the table completely. If you have a site that was built when there were stormwater regulations, and they do have a functional system, they would pay a much reduced rate. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it's 50% of what they would normally be assessed at, if you will.
I read your extensive report, which you went through again here tonight. In the Pinelands, we're sort of unique. We have stormwater regulations from the get-go that requires that we handle all the stormwater that we would generate, and that there would be no off-site impacts that would be greater than what the site was prior to any development. So in some cases, you're talking about a rather expensive investment in underground storage facilities for stormwater and so forth. And it doesn't seem, you push equitable. It doesn't seem very equitable if you're being assessed after you already spent and absorbed that level of cost in your development, 50%. Again, it seems like a double tax.
Right. Well, what you it's different. Remember, the state has nothing to do with this other than the regulation that made this a possibility. So this is a town thing. Now, from the perspective of a property owner who has a stormwater system that they
Spend a lot of money.
not just paid the money to build, but also permanently dedicated the land to house. I understand that, and there may be some flexibility in that 50%, but most of the times you'll see you can give a credit, but you can only give a credit to 50%, not the entirety of it. If we kind of step on the other side and look at it from the town, let's just say, and I'm not saying that this is an example in Hammonton, but let's say that there's a landowner who has a stormwater system, and maybe the town knows that it's not quite working right? If you had a utility and that landowner applied and said, hey, I've got a stormwater basin, I don't want to pay, what I'm assessed at, the town could say, well, have you inspected that stormwater system? Do we have you ever submitted a report? We have a feeling it's not working right. If you want that credit, repair the system, inspect it, make sure that it is doing exactly what that property owner originally spent the money and purported it to do. So it gives you, I don't know if you call it a stick or a carrot, but somewhere in between the two, a way to make sure that those systems that were put in are working.
The other thing to keep in mind is every storm sewer system is designed to fail if your design storm is exceeded. And every basin has an emergency overflow. And those spill over into whether it's a county, town, or a state storm sewer system. And there's a lot of aging pipe, within the town of Hammonton, everyone knows. And there's a lot of undersized pipe. So it's just another way of trying to solve some existing problems that we do have in the town or in any municipality. But there is some credit, like was indicated in the report, for people that go that step and they go maybe one step above. That helps you to reduce. You have to develop a formula, and the formula would be applied, across the board to everyone, both residential and commercial and industrial.
Not to belabor it, because we have a lot to do tonight on the agenda, and I appreciate your your presentation and your appearance here tonight. But it also seems to be, when we assess a tax, it's based on a property value. There's a whole process there that how that tax is derived. There's an appeal process that the property owner can go through to challenge that assessment and so forth. This seems to be a rather arbitrary implementation of what that tax would be based on impervious surface. How that is derived is, like you say, through the interpretation of state aerials and so on and so forth. How does an individual property owner challenge that assessment, particularly if they've already made an investment substantially if it's a newer development, in stormwater control structures on their property, whether it be underground or through some sort of retention basin or so forth. It's going to involve a rather complicated process of assessing that cost, and it's going to also incur quite a bit of cost in our end at the municipal level to do all the administration of this. I mean, you're going to have to, we're not talking now just water and sewer bills, now we're talking about a stormwater management assessment as well. That would have to be mailed out to all the property owners.
And I think another part of it too is that through the first phase of this review, right, that was handled through grant dollars through League of Conservation Voters. There's obviously much more information that we would need for a council to consider this, right? So I think the application for other grants, either through League of Conservation Voters or the state of New Jersey, will be worthwhile for us so that we can answer some of these questions. I know I have a few other questions from reading it as well, but as you said, we have quite a few things to cover tonight, so I won't belabor the topic. But I do think it would be worthwhile to look for additional grant dollars so that we can consider the option, to its fullest degree.
Keep in mind, when that budget is developed, all those things that we're talking about adding another line to the billing, the whole administration, and in fact, the studies that you're talking about, although you've been getting grant money to do this so far, which is excellent. But the legislation allows for the formation of the utility to be paid for by the utility if you were to implement one.
So I'll be brief as well. I know we have a lot to cover tonight. A couple of things I'd like to say. Number one is we spent over $400,000, $450,000, I believe the number was, for a vac truck that we're looking to start vacuuming storm drains that we know discharge into the lake. It's something we're actively working on. We have both our public works and our water and sewer departments working on stormwater management throughout town. I know you heard earlier tonight about we have called a drainage ditch, a stream, whatever you want to call it, that starts in the center of town and works its way all the way out of town. And we've had guys in there for probably a couple of weeks cleaning it. It took us the better part of a year to get property owners permission to go on their land to do this. And quite honestly, you could have the best stormwater plan in the town. If you can't move the water, you can't move the water. We've asked, quite frankly, begged the county to help us with this, and we've gotten nowhere with it, number one. Number two, Mr. Teresi, I call him constantly, and the state is helping us, so I can't say it's the state on that one, but the county has not helped us one bit, so we're out there on our own. But at the end of the day, here's what I'm going to say about this. And I'm surprised that the state hasn't grabbed onto this sooner, since the state loves to tax everyone. At the end of the day, a utility, you can call it a fee, you can call it assessment, it's a tax. And I think we've done quite well managing our stormwater internally with our budget and not having to add this burden on the residents. So I think we can continue to work the way we're working and not create a utility. That's my opinion.
So we would have to create another utility for this, to manage this?
Yes.
Correct.
Maybe not. You can call it whatever you want, but it is a tax, and you're basically, the property owners are paying a portion of that already. So it's another way of, you might reduce the overall initial tax that is applied for public works and would be assessed to this particular line item.
Well, and here's what I'll say. I have been here, this is my 10th year, and I have majored in Dito math. And I will say this, when we need money, we'll ask the residents for it. Right now, we can manage our stormwater in-house within our departments. And when the day comes that we need a big project or funds for it, then we'll ask.
Just to be clear, your residents are currently paying for that.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that. But a utility is nothing more than a vehicle to tax.
You're right, our residents are paying for it, and right now, the entire town is paying for it, right? But if we go down this road with a utility, we can't charge the entire town, because there's a lot of players in the outlying areas that have not even close to having town utility or town water, or, the storm sewer coming through their property.
They wouldn't need that. They would just need to have impervious cover and have a parcel within the town.
I understand that, but they're managing their own water now. So what's the utility going to do? Are we going to go to every one of them residents with water on our property and help alleviate the problem?
Well, I think they all reside in the town. They drive down the streets. They would benefit from the improvements that would come from the utility. That's my opinion. They might not share that opinion, I understand.
No, they're going to challenge it. I think it'll be challenged.
Of course.
Right? So then we're going to have legal fees and different things. Because Hammonton is so rural, it's like, okay, you have 6,000 line items on the tax rolls. 4,000, roughly, are in what I call the R1, or the circle of Hammonton. Probably a 3-mile circle is if you drop the pin on Bellevue Avenue. Right? The other ones have no use or we don't help them in any way, shape, or form, but we take their tax dollars to help offset. Right now, the system is working because we're taking money from the outside and still helping the town. Later on, you may have people challenge that, and you may not be able to get the outside money, so you may end up having to charge the ones in that 3-mile circle triple to get back to where you are today. Plus, you may have to deal with a lot of lawsuits. That's my concern. I don't want to get in, we already are mired in lawsuits.
Yeah, no, I understand. They may see that $7 a month
Not on my watch, but
Right?
yeah, I mean, there's definitely lots of pros and cons. I'm not,
That's my concern.
I'm here to answer your questions, and the report hopefully contains more of that information. I don't have a stake in this game.
Yeah.
You know, other towns, I think you'll see these will become fairly common in the state of New Jersey over the next decade. But that doesn't mean that it's a good fit for the town. You know,
Right.
Yeah, my only thought is I just want to say I do agree with Councilman Forgione that we're in a position where we can, I do truly believe that we can manage what we have, you know. But what I do think is that, like Councilman Forgione said, if we need a big project at some point, we'll handle it then. But if there are grant dollars that are out there and available now, so essentially free for us to be able to at least commission a study, gather additional information, I think it'd be worthwhile to go for an application of a grant to gather additional information, even if it's not something that we feel that we would leverage immediately.
Yeah, it's basically additional information gathering.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if you're not going to seriously consider creating a utility, don't waste those grant dollars.
That's exactly what I was going to say. If we're not really going to consider it, Hammonton's a unique town, okay? It's nothing like any other town. It really is not. And like the mayor said, we have a lot that's out there, it's farmland or whatever it may be. I just don't think we should just, in my opinion, I agree with Councilman Forgione, not waste the money if we really have no intention of going any further. And you said there's stop points in this?
well, no, I've seen.
No, I'm just saying, you just said there's like, here's a point where you can stop and.
This may be one for you, yeah.
And it may be one for us, so I don't know whether you want to make that decision tonight or not, but I just don't want to see us, I understand your point too, Councilman Oliva, I do, but I'm just thinking that why waste money if we have no intentions of going any further?
You know, there's municipalities in North Jersey that, as the song goes, we paved the parking lot, you know, or what, how's the song go?
You're right.
Paradise to put up.
Paradise, we paved the parking lot, you know, so there's municipalities where they have, you know, 8 square miles and it's all in impervious surface, and it's all hooked up to the sewer, the municipal sewer, storm sewer system. That may, you know, they may have serious problems. Maybe that's where the grant dollars should go to fund those studies.
I
just
noticed
don't
that
know.
in the entire state of New Jersey, there is not one of these public authorities or utilities for stormwater, according to your report, established yet.
It just became legal like less than 2 years ago, so it wasn't a possibility until that legislation came through. So you will see them pop up. There are other towns that are in the process of implementing it. But, you know,
Why don't we do this? Why don't we send this to committee, and the committee come up with a recommendation to council for next month, and we'll either say, maybe this is that point where we go or no go, and we'll come out of it and figure this out in the next 30 days.
That's fine. We could jot down some questions too, and maybe we can
Yeah.
pick Clay's brain on that, or maybe even talk to the person from Molly Riley. Couldn't make it tonight because she got diagnosed with COVID, so she wasn't able to attend the meeting. So, and one other thing to keep in mind, farmlands are not assessed, so farming operations are not assessed any kind of fee associated with
How
that.
about state property where 1/3 owned by the state of New Jersey? Do they kick in? I guess not, huh? You think they would?
I think it can.
Well, that.
I agree. Let's see.
All right, so we'll put it in committee, and we'll get back to you if you give us 30 days, all right, sir?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Very enlightening. Thank you. All right, while we're on the dispense of the regular order of business, we're going to have Resolution 068, 2020, self-examination of our budget. Leon, you want to step to the mic and we'll go through this? What do you think?
Thank you, Mayor. What that resolution is for is 2 out of every 3 years, you do your own exam of the budget between Rob and myself. And you qualify for it, your house is in order, so we're allowed to do that. And the state will not look at this budget. Once we're done with it, and off you go. So that's all that resolution is for.
And just for the public, if anybody doesn't remember, Leon's from Ford Scott, and he's our auditor. Okay. Did I hear first and Woolen?
So moved, Mayor.
Woolen
Second.
first. Gribben second. Discussion on Resolution 068-2020, self-examination of our budget, current budget. Any questions from council? Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Excuse me, Gribben?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo? Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried. All right, now we have introduction of ordinance 015-2020. It's a COLA ordinance establishing a cap bank.
Yes, so this ordinance needs to be done for you to introduce your budget. The amount of money that it provides will bring you up to the spending cap. You're well within the levy cap. There's two different caps you have to comply with. The levy cap's not an issue. The spending cap, this brings you right to the maximum of that cap. So this ordinance will be introduced tonight. It'll be adopted before the budget's adopted on the 20th of June.
So moved.
Gribben first,
Second.
second Oliva, excuse me. What this ordinance does is our budget this year is going to be $374,506.54 more than last year. Correct, Frank? Correct. And everybody knows that in the line item for gas, I think last year we had 86,000 for gasoline and diesel. This year we're budgeting 175,000. So that's $109,000 more. Our health insurances went up, gone up. It's increased almost 200,000?
265.
265, over 200,000. So there were some increases, salary
We also
increases.
had the ACUA contract that was increasing.
90-some
Yeah,
thousand.
pension costs went up. For PRS, it went up $28,000. For PFRS, it was an increase of $39,900. And also our business and workman's comp insurance went up $10,000, $9,682. So there were increases throughout the budget.
So those are numbers that we have no control over.
No control over.
But other than, just so everyone understands, other than a little bit we're asking for tonight, not that I shouldn't say it that way, but we're covering most of this additional cost in-house.
Correct.
Other than draconian measures, which I don't think you want to go down that route.
And this budget, when you pass this ordinance and keep going, this is a 1 penny increase
Correct.
on the tax rate.
Yes.
1 penny increase. So for the average person, you're probably talking about, the average house, you're probably talking about $7 to $10 per year.
If you think about just the fuel costs, you know, I was fortunate to be away for a little while, and I was out in California, and not that that has anything to do with Hammonton, but when I pulled up to the pump before we left, it was $6.49 a gallon for gas. About $1.50 more than here or so, but it's a shocker. It really is.
So you have a motion, right?
We have a motion, we have a first and a second. Additional discussion.
I just want to thank Frank for spending an hour with me going line by line in the budget today and going through every individual calculation, so I appreciate it, Frank.
You're welcome.
So you want to know where the cost is? There you go.
We're looking for it. We're looking for the extra money.
Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribben?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo? Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried. Resolution 069-2020, introducing the 2022 municipal budget.
So this is the formal introduction of the budget, even though you've been working on this for months. It's now placed on the table. We need a vote to introduce it and have a public hearing on June 20th, which at that time the public can ask any questions about. It'll be on your website. And we'll be here to field any questions that you have. The budget is in compliance with both caps, like I said before. And Mayor just mentioned it's a 1 cent tax increase. Your fund balance is in better shape than it was last year. Your financial factors are all good. It provides for everything that you've had, and as was mentioned, the increases in health insurance, utilities, and just general contractual obligations. With all that being said, it's still just a 1 cent tax increase. Every $39,000 is a penny. So that's all that this is really taking out of the taxpayer's pocket, is that 1 cent worth of all those costs we talked about going up. So tonight is the introduction, and we need a majority vote to introduce the budget and have the public hearing on June 20th.
Get a motion from council, please. Olivo, set first.
Second.
Second, Gribbin. Discussion.
Mayor, this covers the utility as well, correct?
This is a utility also, isn't it?
Right, so there's no increase for utility for water and sewer. It should also be noted that we're currently carrying, what's the number, Frank? $400,000 deficit in utility spending because of uncollected fees during COVID, which we're hoping to reconcile by the end of this year, that we're able to, to float, so to speak.
The moratorium ended March 15th of this year?
Right. So the plan is that money comes back to us at the end of this year.
So we're still self-liquidating there, right?
We are not self-liquidating.
We are not self-liquidating.
Until we get that money, we are not self-liquidating. On the utility side.
Right.
Yeah.
Additional discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo? Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
And Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried.
Great.
Then,
So see you in a month, and if there's any questions or anything, certainly between Frank, Rob, and myself, we'll be able to answer them for you.
thank you, Leon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leon.
Have a nice night. Thank you very much. Resolution 070-2020, temporary capital budget. This is the building improvements at 224 Vine Street.
So moved.
Gribbin first.
Second.
Second, Oliva. This is for demolition of the town-owned building next door. All right. Additional discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo? Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
And Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried. Public hearing on bond ordinance 011-2022, utility bond ordinance for Boyer Avenue drip irrigation. Could I get a motion to open up to the public, please?
Motion, Mayor.
Fagioni first.
Second.
Second, Woolerman. We're now open to the public, if anybody would like to be heard. It's a drip, it's a bond for drip irrigation to be extended at Boyer Avenue.
And this is just a reappropriation, Mayor. It's no cost to the taxpayers, to the water and sewer utility.
Yep. Seeing no one?
I was going to explain it we close the public portion.
Seeing no one, I accept the motion to close the public portion, adopt and publish.
Motion, Mayor.
Fagioni.
Second.
Rodeo.
This was money left over from painting of 4th Street. We're reappropriating the funds to put a fence in at Boyer to encapsulate the new drip area we're doing.
Additional discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo? Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried. We'll jump over to committee reports. We'll start with administration. Deputy Mayor Gribbin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Administration Committee met twice in May, May 11th and May 16th. We have one action item on tonight's agenda from our committee. It's an ordinance which amends Chapter 204, and we'll take that up under new business and discuss if necessary at that time. Under the clerk's report tonight, you will see that we are hiring a full-time police records employee to replace our retiring employee, Angelica Fontanez. And just to update council, last month I talked about the construction of the new Access Hammonton studio on the 3rd floor. An update from our construction official, Mr. Bernardo, is that we're about halfway complete on that and should be completed in early July if all materials and things work out. So that'll complete my report portion. I want to congratulate for the award winners from this year's Greater Hammonton Chamber of Commerce. The Nice Going Award winner this year was Mr. Jim Donio, and Business of the Year was the DiDonato Family Fun Center, and it was a very nice event held at Pinelands Golf Course last Tuesday night. I was honored to be able to speak on behalf of Mayor and Council, and in congratulating and thanking our business community for the investment that they've made, especially, I don't need to tell any of you about the last 2 years and the economic headwinds that they faced. Hammonton is likely one of the only towns in New Jersey that saw business expand, and we should be grateful to our business community. So I expressed those sentiments on behalf of council, and I was happy to do so. And I also want to congratulate the Kiwanis Club of Hammonton. They will be celebrating, or they are celebrating, their 100 year of service to our community. They will be hosting their annual dinner tomorrow night at Tomasello's, and would like to congratulate them and thank them for all of their service to our community. Finally, next Monday is Memorial Day, and the Tri-Vets of Hammonton will be hosting its annual ceremony at Veterans Memorial Park beginning at 11 a.m. I'm honored to be giving the address this year, and I know that Councilman Oliva will be giving the address on behalf of council. I would encourage all of our residents to attend this very well-attended event in Hammonton year after year. The Tri-Vets of Hammonton put on a very nice program there, and I would encourage your attendance. And I want to thank the mayor for this time. That will conclude my report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Gribben. We'll jump over to business and industry. Councilman Olivo.
Thank you. Expanding on what Councilman Gribben said, our businesses seem to be growing. This past Thursday, which I was not able to attend, but thank Councilman Oliva for being there. There was 3 ribbon cuttings on May 19th. National Credit Reporting System was 245 Bellevue. NB Advisors was at 251 Bellevue. And, excuse me, Exit 28 was at 210 Bellevue Avenue. We'll have 2 ribbon cuttings coming up in June. That's going to be June 16th, which is Loader Travel at 233 Bellevue Avenue and Sundeck Pools at 111 12th Street. Those will be on the 3rd Thursday of the month, which is June 16th, which is also, it's called Pucha Palooza, and this is one of the most popular 3rd Thursdays since the folks could bring their dogs to the downtown. Also in June, we have the Food Truck Fest, which is Saturday, June 11th, from 4 to 9 in the downtown area. Very, very popular. And then we, I'll go into July, and we have our 4th of July celebration, but maybe we should get through Memorial Day first. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Councilman Olivo. And we'll go to jump to quality of life and Councilman Oliva.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Councilman Oliva, I have to say that Councilman Rodeo is also with me. He did a great job holding the very heavy ribbon for me. So I just want to appreciate
Councilman,
your
thank you
attendance
very much
with
for
me
that.
You didn't give him the scissors, though, did you?
No, they're sharp. I don't let
scissors.
him.
I hold the ribbon, though.
Well, that's good.
He was in California, by the way.
You got a nice tan. So, on behalf of the Quality of Life Committee tonight, just a few mentions from the community garden. The community garden does have a few beds still available over at the community garden at the corner of Washington and 11th Street. They are going fast. It is a $20 donation, and that is for all season. Something my mother and I do every year. We've outgrown her garden, her backyard, so we always go. We grow some tomatoes, sunflowers, whatever you want to grow. So we always have a nice time there. And speaking of tomatoes, that's actually the topic of the next garden talk for the Green Committee. Friday, June 3rd at 6 p.m. is all about tomatoes. So for anyone who knows a backyard grower, I think most of us do, especially in this town. We love our tomatoes there. There's going to be a lot of tips and tricks and ideas. So please feel free to stop by or to tune in. or reach out, and I'm happy to provide any additional information. On behalf of the Environmental Commission, with the change in weather, this is always the time of the year, a lot of yard work. I always just want to make sure I advocate that if you are in a position to be taking down some trees on your property, please take the second to just read our tree ordinance. Some of those trees do require a permit to be removed. And this is where we see a big influx of permits that come into the Environmental Commission, as we did last year in 2021. We're seeing that again in 2022, but just want to advocate for everyone, take a second, read through the ordinance. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the phone number or the email that's on the permit application. It's right on our town's website. Lastly, from the Quality of Life Committee, the Hammonton Drug Alliance is sponsoring the townwide yard sale. The townwide yard sale is next Saturday, my apologies, June 4th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Proceeds go to the Hammonton Drug Alliance and the Hammonton Family Success Center, and it is conveniently placed on the Saturday, which is right before Monday, that is Junk Week, which we'll get to in Public Works. So much more conveniently placing that day for everyone for their unsold items. So I know I'll be taking advantage of it, as I'm sure others will. That concludes my report for quality of life. And then moving on to education, I just have one note that I wanted to share. In addition, or similar to us as we talk about our budget for the town budget, the school did vote to pass their 2022-2023 budget, and they also reviewed in their last meeting new course offerings. There's going to be some new course offerings at both Hammonton High School and Hammonton Middle School, so they were reviewed a little bit in depth. But other than that, not a majorly impactful meeting from school board, but they did have some good stuff, so I wanted to share. Other than that, that completes my report for quality of life. I appreciate the time, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilman Oliva. We'll jump over to Public Works and Transportation. Councilman Rodeo.
Thank you, Mayor. We have two different action items that I will let Mr. Herman discuss from ARH instead of me taking time, as we've had a busy schedule tonight. And also, I will do the same as far as our Public Works items. I'll let Mr. Batiste speak about those, and if I want to leave a little room for saying something, I'll wait for that to take place. The one thing I do want to mention, I do want to say that we're going to start, the Town of Hammonton will be starting work at our playground down at the Hammonton Lake here in mid-June sometime. This will be the first phase of the reconstruction that we've been talking about. It's finally, there was a pre-construction meeting, and we're ready here to start the first phase. The part that I'd like to bring up is we're going to have to close the park probably for the rest of the summer due to the fact of heavy equipment and machinery, and just can't take chances with children inside the park and having a problem. Just the playground I'm talking about, not the entire park. Hopefully it won't be too long. It's all there again, like everyone else is talking about. Depends on how quickly we can get the material that we need to do that part of the first phase and move on from there. And then there is a second phase, hopefully. Maybe we could do that. Well, hopefully we won't have to tie it up for another year, but we'll see again once we move down that path and see how far we go. The other thing this year I would like to bring up is this year we've been very proud, and we will continue in future years. Our 4th of July fireworks are going to have to be put on a back burner for this year, as there is new, I believe it's state or federal laws, I believe, that are in place, and the company that does our fireworks will not have their license in place to do them the way they are done properly. The mayor could say a few words on that a little bit more as he speaks to them. But again, in 2023, we should not have a problem be back doing fireworks on the 4th of July. Down the road, there isn't an issue, because by the 16th of July, it'll be fine. August, the night out, the National Night Out, and again in December, of course, here when we have them again at St. Joe's Academy for New Year's Eve, we'll be all okay. They just couldn't get their licenses and all in place, and instead of putting out the money and then not being able to have it, we canceled on the 4th of July. But Mayor, you want to say a couple things about the new laws that are in place and all?
Yeah, so basically with pyrotechnic fireworks, you have to, with shells over 2 inches in size, you have to electronically light them. You cannot hand light them in the state of New Jersey any longer. So what that means is you have to have a license that you can shoot them off from a computer, whatever it is, a couple hundred yards away. The company at this time does not have all their operators licensed. They will be late June to late, this summer, during the summer, early July. So for this July 4th, they're shorthanded. So basically, we had to not have fireworks, and we'll jump in 23 again. The only thing we could have done was shoot shells that were 2 inches in diameter. The problem with that is if you're about a mile away, you won't see the fireworks. So, and the expense of the show for $22,000, we thought it was cost prohibitive. So that's all the cards on the table, gang. It pains me to say I love the 4th of July fireworks. I've been there every year, but I don't think it would be the prudent thing to do to go with a 2-inch shell and everybody not be happy with the show we received and paying that kind of money.
I would also just like to add there, down at the lake park for the playground, there will be signage going up, if not by tomorrow, for sure sometime this week, telling everyone what will be happening and what we're doing as far as the town and giving them plenty of notice. And especially I know the moms and the kids during the summer, how much they enjoy it there. But somewhere we have to take this time to improve it, and it's just going to just be a little bit of an issue for a small period of time. But I believe the outcome and the final work done on the playground will be well worth the while that is closed down, because what they're planning to do and the final chapter of it, it looks really, really well on paper. And let's just hope that that's the way it looks in the end, and we'll have one heck of a playground when we are all done. That's about it. That's my report, Mayor, and thank you very much.
Just so everybody knows, there will be fireworks on the 16th of July. Mount Carmel sponsors those. There will be fireworks on August 5th, I believe it is.
Yeah, I said that, yeah.
And New Year's Eve on the 31st of December. All right? Water and Sewer, Councilman Fragioni.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one action item that I'll get to in the engineer's report. Last month, I referenced Lakeview Gardens and private wells. I have a statement I'd like to read, and we can kind of go from there. Statement reads, please be advised, the town has received notice from a homeowner in the Lakeview Gardens section of Hammonton that a test on their private well showed an increased level of PFOAs. The test result came back with a number of 0.0170, exceeding the limit of 0.014 as set forth by the state. The test was taken from the tap, and a follow-up test has been commissioned to verify the results. Given the very limited sample size to date, it is unclear if outside factors may have affected the test results. Sampling at the well source prior to the tap is imperative in eliminating outside factors and will provide the most accurate result. The town is requesting homeowners who have private wells on Cypress Court, Holly Lane, Poplar Street, Moss View Lane, Mill Run Drive, and Moss Mill Road to obtain a test for PFOAs, PFNAs, and PFOSs at a minimum. Of course, a complete well test is recommended and should be part of the homeowner's yearly maintenance program for their private well. The town would request the results of the private well test for plotting and further analysis. So what we have is we had a resident test, and they tested 0.003 thousandth higher than is allowed by the state. They did request a second test. The test was drawn. We haven't seen the results yet. What I'd like to do is send a letter to the residents in that area, notifying them what's going on, number one, requesting that they test, number two, so that we can come back here hopefully in June and really sit down and figure out a course of action for the residents. You know, I want to make it very clear that these are private wells. This is not town water. This is wells that serve individual homes. And there's a couple ways this can go the way I see it. First way would be the wells are okay, or your treatment system needs some sort of modification, so be it. Second way this can go is the state could say you need to have POET systems installed on your wells, which the state would provide funding for. After a 2-year period, the state would look into converting the POET systems that are on your private well into running town water. So there's kind of your choices of where this could go. We're going to provide, in part of our letter, testing companies that the state recommends. We're going to provide the spill fund contact from the state. We'll provide our contact information so that we can get the results from the residents and plot everything so we see what we're dealing with here. And lastly, what I would say is when you request a test, you want to request a test, you want it drawn from the tap so you could see if you have any type of filtration system, what it's doing. But we, as the town, and the state for that matter, need to see a raw sample drawn, which your testing agency would be able to do. That's where we are currently. Mr. Batiste did reach out to the testing laboratory who handles all the wells in town to see if they could offer a bulk discount that we could present. And we'll put all that into our letter and send it out in those areas. But we need to get some tests done. We need to get a little bit better sample size to see, where we are with everything.
I just want to reiterate, this is on private wells. Private wells only. This is not the town water system. And the test, the 14 parts is per trillion. It's 14 parts per trillion. And this one particular well, private well, came up 17 parts per trillion. Okay? So it's imperative that you test. We think it's precautionary, but it's the smart thing to do to test. But there's no reason to be alarmed. But it's something that should be investigated. Okay?
Correct. Anybody else? Have anything, Mr. Woolman? You good?
No, that there is no federal standard for these PFOSs, but there is a state standard. The federal standard, according to the National Law Review, will probably be initiated in the fall, and they would hope to adopt it by the following fall, 2003. There's currently, the EPA has a federal health advisory, which is not a regulatory standard, it's just advisory, and it's at 40 parts per trillion. So this is still in the hopper for further scientific investigation, but like we say, that's one test, one result. We encourage everybody that has a private well to get their tests done, and that we would like to put together that broader empirical database to see whether this is a more prevalent problem.
Again, those tests are in addition to their annual test. This is specific test with regard to these specific.
No, so you can have a test that's inclusive of everything, which would include this.
Do they typically, though?
I would say probably not. Be my guess, probably not. And I don't know who has what type of filtration system at their home, obviously. If you have a water softener, for example, that just handles your pH and your alkalinity, that's not going to really do anything for you here. If you have a more advanced system, it may do the job for you. So that's all things that we have to figure out. But we really want to see the raw data so that we can, plot this and see, is there a problem or isn't there a problem?
And my understanding from the homeowner is in 2020, in the beginning of that, they weren't even testing for this. So if you did that broad spectrum of tests, that PFOAs would not even been checked at that point in time.
Right.
Yeah. You're going to hear more about PFOAs.
Yeah, and just to give a little bit of clarity on that, as Mr. Willerman said, it's new testing requirement or testing standard in New Jersey over the last year or two. New Jersey, I believe, is one of only 3 or 4 states that currently even test for it. New Jersey's drinking water standards are far superior than anything the federal government does. We're light years ahead. other than I know it's California, it might be Arizona, New Jersey's number 3. So, you have a federal target that's moving in the wind, and they're trying to do scientific data to figure out what a federal number would be. But I would tell you that the New Jersey number is always going to be more stringent than anything the federal government creates. It's just the way, if you look at the history of testing in New Jersey's testing limits and requirements are much more stringent than what the federal government, which is the absolute minimum you can have, is. So, again, we don't want to alarm anyone. We just want to know what we're dealing with here. And, we feel that if we send this letter, get the residents to participate, again, at least we can plot it, see what we're talking about. We've also asked, and we're hoping that someone from the state can come in from the spill fund next month and do a presentation. I think it's important you hear from the state as to how the next step works, and we're trying to coordinate that as well for the residents. So we'll let everyone know if we can get someone here in June.
One other point. There is a tremendous resource for self-education. I use it all the time, called YouTube. You can go on YouTube and you can get a tremendous amount of information, scientifically based, about the types of treatment systems that are available for homeowner, reverse osmosis, carbon filtration. There's a lot of information just about the whole scope of the problem. In fact, I found a very interesting, these class of chemicals are called forever chemicals, but there's been some very interesting research right here in Princeton University by a doctor that has discovered a bacteria that can metabolize these carbon fluorine compounds, and there's quite a bit of ways to go yet, but the forever chemicals may not be so much forever if he can bring that to a practical level of application in wastewater treatment plants. Of course, there's a lot of work that has to be done on that, but there's some encouraging news there. But you can get a lot of good information by watching the resources that are available to you.
It's just my understanding that the reason we're asking for this information, and this is based on my understanding, is that these chemicals that could be found that we're looking for are man-made chemicals. And if they do show up in these private wells, then we may need to figure out where the source of it is coming from.
Well, in terms of what we're trying to achieve here, our mission, I would say, is public safety.
Sure.
The cause of the problem is something that the state needs to reconcile. My bigger, and I think all of us, I speak for everyone here, is obviously public safety. And what we found in the past going through this process, I'll give you a perfect example. I live on the western end of town, and my home has a pellet system on it. And we had a plume moving through, many, many years ago. And it's, as you can imagine with the state, there's a lot of red tape. So if there is something, and we can plot it and present a bulk package to the state, I think the residents would be happier than trying to go to the spill fund themselves if need be. It gets complicated and messy. So that's all we're really trying to do. One is just to see what we're dealing with.
Sure.
Two is if there is something to deal with, that we will help the residents and kind of make a submission with them or for them. And then it goes from there. What the spill fund, I think, will tell you is that the state would do an investigation to see if they could figure out the cause, because like you said, Mr. Gribben, is a man-made cause, but I'm not up here looking for
It is a man-made chemical, and I understand where Mr. Gribben's coming from. First thing we want to do is try to establish culpability because of a liability issue, but we must understand that this chemical is rather ubiquitous in the environment. It's all over. It was used in a variety of applications, everything from firefighting equipment to pizza boxes, because it repels grease. So a lot of fast food delivery.
Close.
Yes, clothes.
Well, and also keep in mind, I don't mean to cut you off, Mr. Willerman, surfactant is a big additive in fertilizers, and that is one of the chemicals in this. So
Well, surfactants are a big additive in soap.
Right.
So these chemicals that we're talking about now for the last 2 years have not been manufactured in this country, but they are persistent in the environment, and we need to be very careful about how they affect our drinking water.
We're getting in the weeds here.
We're getting too in the weeds.
Yeah, we're getting in the weeds. Let's just get some tests. Let's see. We don't even know if we have an issue at this time.
Right, that's right.
Let's not
We're just
alarm.
trying to be precautious.
I
That's
don't
all
want
we're
to
trying to do.
alarm anybody. I think we just probably scared half the people in Hammonton for no reason.
It was not our intent.
Okay?
Not our
Okay,
intent.
there's some concern here. We don't know what we have. Please get your water tested. You should do that anyway. Let's all relax, take a deep breath, and let's go to Mr. Herman for the engineer's report.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council. A few things on the agenda for action tonight. Number one, NJDOT fiscal year 2023 applications are due in July. In talking with Mr. Batiste and Council, the committees, there are 4 applications we're looking to make this year. Municipal aid, bikeways, and safe streets to transit, as well as safe routes to school. It's my understanding that safe routes to school will be made in conjunction with the school system, so I broke up the request into 2 different items here. The first would be to authorize ARH to prepare the first 3, municipal aid, bikeways, and safe street to transit applications for an amount of $3,300.
Can I get a motion for his read, please?
Motion, Mayor.
Rodeo first.
Second.
Second for Joni. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribben?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo? Rodeo?
Yes.
Willerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried.
The second part of that would be to authorize ARH to prepare and submit the grant application for the safe routes to schools, pending agreement with the Hammonton Board of Education in the amount of $1,500.
Motion from council for his read, please.
So moved.
Gribben.
Second.
Oliva. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribben?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo? Rodeo?
Yes.
Willerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried.
The second item on our report pertains to the Hammonton Middle School tennis courts. I've been working with Mr. Batiste on preparing a proposal to prepare plans and specs and oversee the bidding process for the rehabilitation of the tennis courts. So we would request authorization to prepare the plan specs and oversee the bidding for an amount of $5,400.
Motion from council for his read, please.
I'll make that.
Rodeo, Olivo,
This is,
Oliva.
Mr. Herman, this is our portion, or is this?
This is combined. This is the total fee.
Okay.
So yeah, pending the agreement with the school board.
It'll be $2,700 each.
Right,
Yeah,
got it.
yeah.
Additional discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribben?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo? Rodeo?
Yes.
Willerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried.
The third item on our report for action, we've been working with Mr. DeChico and Mr. Fagioni for a while now on the Water Quality Accountability Act compliance law. The next step, Dr. Raymond from our office submitted a comprehensive proposal to do 2 major steps in that plan, which is a capital improvement report as well as a asset management plan. So we submitted a proposal to prepare those comprehensive reports for an amount of $34,300.
Can I get a motion for his read?
Motion, Mayor.
For Joni first.
Second, Mayor.
Rodeo second.
Mayor, just briefly, we started this project a couple of years ago. ARH plotted all of the water lines in the town as part of our, let's call it Phase 1. They also, we put approximate ages to them and approximate life left on those water lines. Mr. Chico did a lot of the other work that he could do in-house. The balance of the work that we're asking for here is this will go into the water, into our all of our buildings, go through every pump, every filter, everything we have, put an age to it, put a value to it, an approximate replacement cost, and this will be the last step we need to comply with the the Water Accountability Act, and it has to be certified from an engineer. So that's why we're asking for all these funds to finish all this work.
There'll also be one other component, which would be the cybersecurity, which we'll deal with. We can work with either Mr. DeStefano or whoever you have in-house to work on the...
Yeah, the last part of this is we asked the state for an exemption for cybersecurity. We were initially granted the exemption because our system is closed. We have no internet attached to the computer that handles all of our wells. It's a separate computer system. The state came back and said, they actually sent a cybersecurity expert in and said that because we use radio frequency between towers and between wells, that we need to have a cybersecurity plan for it, even though it's radio and cellular based. So that's why will be the last step of the whole process.
Additional discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fajoni?
Yes.
Gribben?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo?
Yes.
Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato?
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you. Those are my action items. I do have one thing just to discuss real quick is regarding the construction we have lined up for this year. You know, we have the Valley Avenue project, Schoolhouse Lane, and obviously the Lake Park. We will be starting on Schoolhouse Lane this week, removing those trees. I've been talking to the St. Joe and the Hammonton Family Success Center and the churches as well. So starting Wednesday, we'll be out there removing those. There's 12 large trees along the curb line that are coming out. So you know, we're going to do what we can until the material starts to get. We've been approving shop drawings and we're getting material ordered, and we're at the mercy of, as you know, supply chain. So we'll do what we can to keep things going. So when it breaks, we can get these projects finished.
Have you mentioned, Mark, the fact that the supply chain issues are pushing that project back more towards the fall? I don't know if we mentioned that here.
Yeah, I guess we've in brief talked about it, but yes, we're looking probably, we're hoping to really get into the meat of the project in the mid to late summer. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we were, you know, straggling into the late summer, early fall, depending on, you know, we're seeing 8 to 10 weeks as some, you know, some lead time. Some precast companies are 12 weeks behind. I'm hearing stone is a very, very difficult thing to get at the high school. We're doing the turf field, and they need 10,000 tons of stone, and we're bringing it in from Pennsylvania because you can't even find stone anymore.
The idea was to try to do that kind of work while school was out.
Yeah, it was the plan.
The problems are really pushing us back. And
So the school is aware of what you're going to be doing out there starting next week?
Yeah, I spoke to St. Joe's Academy, and they have some events planned this week, and we're doing our best to avoid anything that they have going on outside. They got a barbecue Wednesday. We're starting by the Presbyterian Church, so we're way out of their way, and anything they have, we're going to do our best to not. Yeah, just the trees for now. So, like I said, we're going to do our best to stay away from any as what we can and keep. You know, we're going to have the road closed and protected, but those trees got to come out obviously for a lot of reasons. So,
Mark, let's catch up outside of this meeting just on projected timeline, and it's moving only because the Green Committee holds its Harvest Day Festival at that location now. So if we're pushing into that like early mid-October timeframe, it might.
The Green Committee?
Yes. Yeah.
That won't be there this year. There's no way that that project's going to be in full swing at that time.
In that October timeframe?
Yeah,
Okay.
you're not going to.
That's no problem.
I could be wrong, but I mean, you're talking about. He said, what did he say? Fire hydrants were 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
So you're at the end of the 5th month now. So they're saying some of this material's not going to hit here till Labor Day. So I would say the odds of you being cleaned up, paved and all, you're going to be pushing to get done for Thanksgiving this year.
Yeah. Okay.
and that project is very, very detailed. You know, we couldn't. We would be best to not have anything there this year. So, but I'm on top of them. I'm pushing, but we can only do what we can. So that's all I have, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Malinsky, you're up.
My report's quick. We have the first reading of the amendments to Chapter 204 of Hammonton's ordinances, which is on the agenda later on. And the only other thing I have is that we are sending the electric vehicle ordinance in accordance with the municipal land use law to the planning board for them to review and send to us before first reading.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your speed. We'll jump over to Mr. Batiste and the Public Works Manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. The sidewalk at Veterans Park has been completed, and the restoration work associated with it has also been completed. They they disturbed some existing lawn area. They backfilled it with topsoil and seeded that area. So I think it's safe for this Memorial Day. Everybody can try out the new sidewalk. Safe routes to schools. We did get some sketches and met with GPI, who's the engineers doing the design work for the safe routes to schools. They gave us a couple different plans about some intersection modifications that we met with the chief, the bike committee, and school representatives, and we actually met with them again today on those sketches. So we had submitted some information back to GPI. They'll do some refinement of the conceptual plans, and then I'll bring back some additional plans for us to review. Historical Society building, we met with the Historical Society, and we'll be meeting with them again actually tomorrow to take a look at the examples that for the railings they want to put in the back handicap facility area or handicap ramp area and the front steps area. And there's also some concrete work and some stucco work that has to be done. So we'll get that squared away, and then once that's squared away, we'll ask for price quotes. Slip lining, we talked about at the PWTC meeting. The report from Princeton Hydro was presented, and then we'll just get the assignment of who the committee members might be, and meet with them to discuss that project. Lakeview Gardens, we had talked about that. Councilman Fergione had given the information on that. Pinelands Preservation Alliance, they need a support letter from the Town of Hammonton related to an application they're making for grant funds, and it's associated with any communities that have a lake facility in their community. They're looking at probably trying to get some funding available for landscape makeovers in order to protect the lake quality, and also might apply to the town's work at the lake park facility itself. So I think it would be proactive on the town's part to at least give them a letter of support. And they gave us a sample letter. We'll make some modifications to that and send that back to them if that's council's desire. So we'll need a direction on that.
Thank you, Mr. Batiste.
Public Works schedule. Bulky waste is usually the first full week of the month. So for June, it'd be the 6th through the 10th. Brush pickup would be the second full week, 13th through the 17th. Monday, May 30th is a Memorial Day holiday. So the trash that you normally put out on Monday, put that out on Tuesday, and they'll pick that up on Tuesday. County recycling, their schedule would be once every 2 weeks. So it's from the 30th of this month through the 6th of June, the 13th through the 17th of June, and the 27th through July 1st. So those are the 3 times they'll be around to collect county recycling. And that's all we have.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
And we'll jump over to Mr. Zuber for the clerk/administrator report.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 5 items on the town clerk report. Number 1, accept resignation of Justin Mortalidi from his position as patrolman from the Hammonton Police Department. It's effective May 8th, 2022. Also, approval of the payout of accrued vacation and personal time in the total amount of $1,421.42. Accept Ryan Ulrich as a junior member of Fire Company Number 2. Approve the Fire Company meeting on May 11th, 2022. Accept resignation of Angelica Fontanez from her position in the Police Records Department effective May 30th of 2022. Number 4, approval to move Gabrielle Rodriguez from her part-time position as account clerk in the tax office to a full-time effective July 1st, 2022, a yearly salary of $30,420, single benefits, 32 and a half hours a week, contingent upon all civil service rules and regulations. And number 5, approval to hire Billy Riley in the Highway Department as truck driver full-time, 40 hours a week, yearly salary of $33,280, single benefits, and also contingent upon all civil service rules and regulations. Approval is read.
So moved.
Gribbin first. Second, Olivo. Discussion from council. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo? Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
And Mayor DiDonato.
Yes, motion carried.
Approval of bill list?
So moved.
Second.
Gribbin, Oliva. Discussion on any bills. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo? Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato.
Yes, motion carried.
And under new business, we have ordinances for introduction. We have introduction of ordinance 12 of 2022, amendment to Article 2, it's Chapter 204. This is Harker Peddler, which Mr. Malinsky was speaking about.
Motion from council first read, please.
So moved.
Gribbin,
Second.
Oliva. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo? Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
And Mayor DiDonato.
Yes, motion carried.
Introduction of bond ordinance 13 of 2022. This is for 220 Vine Street and municipal building improvements.
Motion from council first read, please.
So moved.
Woolerman,
Yes. All right. Motion.
Joni. Discussion.
You do want to build it, don't you?
Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo? Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato.
Yes, motion carried.
Introduction of bond ordinance number 14 of 2022, and this is for utility asset management plan.
Motion, Mayor.
Joni,
Second.
Rodeo. Discussion. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes.
Olivo? Rodeo?
Yes.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato.
Yes, motion carried.
Resolutions, we have Resolution 66, designated May as Bag Up Month. Resolution 71, approve July 4th Parade. Resolution 72, approve religious procession. Resolution 73, various refunds. Resolution 74, this is tax water sewer refunds. Resolution 75, authorize issuance of ABC licenses. Resolution 76, temporary emergency appropriations. Resolution 77, approve green market at third Thursday. Resolution 78, adopting NPP Year 2 implementation. Approval is read.
Motion from council, please.
So moved.
Gribbin first. Second, Olivo. Discussion from council. Roll call, please.
Councilperson Fagioni?
Yes.
Gribbin?
Yes.
Oliva?
Yes, but
Olivo?
abstain on Resolution 75 for the club license, as I'm a member.
Olivo?
Yes.
Rodeo?
I'll do the same.
Same.
I'll recuse myself on the same one, and yes on everything else.
Woolerman?
Yes.
Mayor DiDonato.
Yes, motion carried.
And that concludes my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Here's the second of two opportunities for the public to be heard on anything. Come on up to the mic. Come on up, please, talk to us.
Hi, my name is Bill Keller. I've met with some of you before.
Bill, I'm sorry, can you give your address too?
1310 Fifth Avenue, and that's Egg Harbor City. The
Thank
zip 08215. So I'm a skateboarder. I'm a parent of young skateboarders, and I'm here as a representative of the Hammonton skateboarding community. Over the past several months, we've been attending the Parks and Recreation meetings advocating for a skate park. So far, the board has been receptive to the idea. and will continue to push for a proper skate park in Hammonton. But we're all in agreement that this will be an ongoing effort that will take some time. In the meantime, we'd like to hold pop-up skate nights where we have permission from the town to bring in some obstacles and provide a safe place for local skateboarders. We have a set of rules and a boilerplate waiver of liability we'd require participants to read and sign, and we have some pictures and dimensions of the obstacles we'd be using. These are things that were suggested to us over the past several months from the Parks and Recreation meetings. So we're thinking 11th Street Park basketball court would be a good place to start, but we're certainly open to other ideas, especially if there's something closer to downtown to make it easier for the kids to get to. And we'd love to do our first skate night on National Go Skateboarding Day, which is Tuesday, June 21st. And we're hoping you can take some time to review what we've provided and let us know if this is something we can provide for the community. And if you're interested, I do have printouts of these things. What would be of most interest right now are the obstacles, because on the last page of these, the last page of the obstacles is an example of a layout. And you can see that there's really not much to it.
Thank you.
I've seen them before. Show them to him. Show them to him.
And again, we do have a set of skate spot rules and a waiver of liability. That's kind of boilerplate. This has been used in other towns while they wait for a skate park to be built. And again, these, that last page of the obstacles is an example layout. And you can see it's a few ramps and some open space. And I emailed these to Denise Mazio as well, and you, Mr. Mayor.
Are you organized as a formal club?
No. I mean, we're not a nonprofit or anything at this point in time.
But you don't carry a certificate of insurance or anything like that for your members, or however you determine who the members are?
Whoever shows up and would like to participate.
My question is, how does that protect the town in case of any liability issues?
They'd have to get insurance, and they'd have to enter into a hold harmless indemnification agreement. I have to look at what they have, but I know we talked about this, and we have steps in place that we discussed before.
Yeah, these are things we've talked about with Parks and Recreation. Our understanding of it is that most skate parks signage is skate at your own risk. Because it's inherent, it's in some states it's actually deemed a hazardous sport, which means they just by skateboarding you are I'm not using the correct words. You are responsible for your own safety.
Mr. Malinsky, what's the town's responsibility in a situation?
It doesn't matter. If someone gets injured, even if it's skate at your own risk, if you allow them, obviously, if someone gets hurt, they're going to sue you, the town, as well as the organizer. So again, that's why we need to make sure they have insurance in place, and we have an indemnification and hold harmless agreement as well.
And actually, my son would like to say a few words, if that's okay.
Please, come on up.
Hello, my name is Will Keller. I'm 10 years old and from Mullica Township, but Hammonton is only a few minutes away, so I skate with Hammonton skateboarders. Even though I live in Mullica, I still go there a lot. Even if we wanted to play basketball, we could go to a basketball court in Hammonton. Same with soccer, baseball, football, really any sport except skateboarding. If you let us have a skate night, skaters from all over Hammonton would come to have a safe place to skate instead of having to drive 30 to 40 minutes away or having to skate in the street.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
We're aware that the insurance thing comes up a lot, which is why.
Can you go back up to the mic so people at home could hear you?
Yeah, we're aware the insurance issue comes up a lot, and that's an issue with the skate park itself, right? In order to get a skate park built, that all needs to be figured out. But in the meantime, when we figure that out, a skate night with a safe spot for kids to skate doesn't seem unreasonable.
We would need, okay. So to use any of our facilities, we need an insurance policy and a use of facilities, even to use any of the parks. Please come up to the mic, please. You come up to the mic if you'd like to be heard. Yeah.
Can you state your
name and address
address for the record?
I live on Horton Street. I walked here. You guys mentioned having an organized, club. So we would have to have some kind of insurance policy. Or...
We didn't say an organized
Well,
club.
I meant to become an organized club. So if that was something that if we were an organized club, then we wouldn't have an issue coming to do a skate night, or...
No, we didn't say anything about an organized club. For the use of facilities, to use the parks, we need a use of facilities form and an insurance policy.
I understand. Just somebody had asked, he asked a question if we were an organized club of some sort.
I think that's what I was trying to
That was just
say.
informational to find out if it was actually.
Is that something that we're able to do to make this where if we're out, or it's just regardless, if the kids are skating in Hammonton and you guys agree to it, then it's a liability on your part?
If we allow you to use, in the state of New Jersey, if we allow you to use any of our facilities, we condone it, we approve it, we take the liability for it without that paperwork.
Well, here's my thing. I'm not born and raised, sorry, but I have been here about 7 years. I moved around a little bit, lived out west a lot, lived in affluent towns where every single one of them had a skate park. It's something that really draws people to it. We moved here, it's kind of a different scenario with the way people look at recreational. And like my son, I drop him off at back alleys a lot. Just last week or the week before, he had the cops called on him 3 times. So he's just skateboarding. So this is a genuine problem. And there's a large group of kids, more than just what's here. Like, we pack our cars full of kids, we drive them all over the place. And it's not just skateboarders, you're talking about bikers, skateboarders, rollerbladers. It's a pretty big thing that they're doing, and it's very, very positive. My son right now is going to school, ACIT for engineering. He is in my basement building ramps, doing math, drawing out blueprints. He's putting stuff together. Like, this isn't just skateboarding. There's so much more to it. Now, with him, I have 3 kids. 2 of them play soccer. They're on the field 5-6 nights a week. He skateboards more than they practice, and he has no coach telling him what to do every day. And that says a lot more than, what my other 2 do. So we're up against a wall here, and I don't know. I can't stand watching them on the streets anymore. It's too much, and we really genuinely need your help. If this is just one night that these kids can have a place that's safe, where I'm not dropping them off at a back alley all the time, we need it. We really genuinely need it. They don't do anything else. So they're not on the baseball field. They don't do any of that kind of stuff. This is the only thing that they do. It's positive. They're not doing anything wrong, and we're reaching out for help. We're trying to go about this the right way.
We agree with you 100%, and we can understand your situation. You also have to understand that unfortunately, when we take these seats, we have responsibility for 15,000 residents, and we have to try to keep everyone safe and the risk minimized to the most that we can.
But if you're saying that you have 15,000 residents and then you have a large group of children that are constantly in the streets unsupervised, what are you doing to protect them? What are you doing to help them? Nothing. Because they're not the majority. We're asking for help.
The Question is, as you as a parent, why are you allowing your kids with a skateboard to be in a street where that could be a dangerous situation?
Where else would you like them to go?
I don't know. You bought them the skateboard, you determine that. But it can't be it can't be with
Sir,
our
what do you like
liability.
to do as a hobby?
I work.
You work?
Constantly.
What did you do when you were growing up?
Worked
All you did was work.
all the time.
So if anybody turned around to you and told you that you couldn't work because there was a liability behind it,
My dear,
I can't turn around to my kid and tell him that he can't.
The question was, when I was a kid, my parents made sure that I did whatever I was doing was safe and in a safe place.
My son skateboards at the parking lot right over here, and the cops got called on him, and he's in a parking lot. You know, what I'm telling you is this is what his passion is. So you're going to combat that with telling me that if it's not a safe passion, then he can't do it?
What we're asking is that look, if they want to have an event on June 21st with, the equipment that you guys want to set up the ramps, they can do it just like anybody else can. But everyone has to fill out a use of facilities form and have the appropriate insurance and execute the appropriate hold harmless and indemnification agreements. That's similar to any other group. We're not treating any group differently. Just fill out the use of facilities form.
You just mentioned a little while ago,
Right.
baseball, basketball, soccer, they all perform all those duties before they can go on town land in the town of Hammonton. Yes, they do.
All we're asking you to do is do what everyone
Yes,
else
they do.
does.
Whether it's the Little League, whether it's football.
That kind of stuff out, or how does that?
You're telling us we need our own.
Come on up to the mic, please.
Come on up to the mic.
Just to be clear, you're telling us we need to bring our own insurance policy. There's absolutely nothing that the town could do to allow us to use a basketball court and put some obstacles on it and skate there for a couple hours. Hopefully once a week is what we were going for starting June 21st, unless we have our own insurance policy. But we could all get together and ride our bikes on a bike path, right? Or we could all push down the bike path. That's fine. So it's just kind of wild to me that would be a requirement to get together and ride skateboards with permission from the town.
It's I know it's hard to imagine, but the state of New Jersey is a litigious state, and there's nothing you do at your own risk. You walked in this room right here. You're not standing there at your own risk. If you turn around and catch your foot on that rug, you could sue the town of Hammonton. Because you could say there was a rip, something was an imperfection in that rug, something, and you could sue.
Right, okay, so I'm just to explain
So
this a little bit more.
unfortunately, because everybody sues, there has to be a way that we can minimize the risk.
But, okay, let me make the comparison again to people using the bike paths in Hammonton. You provide them with the bike paths, and they are permitted to use the bike paths, correct? And any one of them could sue you at any moment in time.
With streets, there's a little different situation, right? Because there's cars, there's pedestrians, it's a little different situation, but parks, it's not.
Well, I mean, I think comparing this to a bike path that a town provides is a pretty apt comparison. Again, that last page, you can see there's really not that many obstacles, and it is certainly safer than where the skateboarders end up now.
We don't disagree. It's
Okay.
just that, again, we can't treat you differently than any other organization. Let's say we let you go, okay, we're going to treat you guys differently. You don't have to find the use of
No,
facilities.
I understand that.
Form. You don't have to provide the insurance. You don't have to execute the hold arms. Then the next organization that comes and says, we want to use your facilities. Well, why do we have to fill out a use of facilities form? You didn't make them do it.
When people use the basketball court that we're asking to use for skateboarding, what insurance do they have when they go onto that basketball court to use it?
The people go on to use the park, but you're asking to do an actual organized event. You're asking to have a
Not
skate night. You're asking to put your own equipment on our property, ramps and stuff of that nature, which changes the circumstances a little bit. You're asking to have a group of people or advertise or have people come on June 21st. You want to start it once a week. I'm assuming you're going to be bringing people there for this event, or to set up your ramps and everything else. We need something in place, just like any other organization,
Help us.
to have a use of facilities.
Help us and tell us what we need to do to make this so you're happy and okay with what we're doing. Help us.
That's fine. We can walk you through the use of facilities form and help you. I'm sure Denise and the third floor can help you. Frank can help
Absolutely.
you.
We'll walk you through all that stuff, but we need the insurance policy. There's no way around that.
This is from our insurance agent that takes care of the town of Hammonton, not from us.
Yeah, I spoke with him as well.
Mr. Palea.
There are other options.
And what did Mr. PJ Palea tell you?
He explained the numbers, and we were also tossing around different ideas as if there were possibly a way for the kids to have a membership or pay monthly to put into any policies that were gone through or anything like that. There's got to be some kind of loophole or something that we can do to help the kids. Because mind you, as much as it may look like I am, a bad parent for letting my child skate on the back alleyways, this is what he wants to do, and there's no stopping him from doing it. So it's as much as my other two have a passion for soccer, that's why I drive them all over the place, and that's why I've had him at every single skate park on the East Coast. Every single one of them have different policies. They have people that stay there and they watch. They make sure there's ones in Ocean City where they're fully equipped with their safety gear. They're not allowed in if they don't have it. If you have a membership fee and the kids are paying whatever it is a month to be able to do something like this, to have somebody that's overseeing it, to make sure that this is going about it the way that you guys need it to for your insurance reasons, then we can make that work. But
Unfortunately, ma'am, I wish we were Ocean City. It would be great to be Ocean City here in Hammonton, but we're not capable of being that in any way possible, shape, or form.
But wait, hold on. I think we're talking two different things here.
Yeah.
Just real quick. The first thing is this. When you're bringing your equipment to our facility, you have to have the insurance, the indemnification, the use of facility, right? If you go to Ocean City, it's their skate park at least. So you could sign a waiver because the skate park was constructed. One last thing. You had mentioned your other children who play soccer. The membership fee they pay is not to the town. They pay to whatever organization runs the soccer program. So it would have to be the same for you guys. You can get an insurance policy under, you can call it Skateboard of America, whatever you want to call it, and they would pay that fee to that association to get the policy, not to the town.
Let me explain what he just touched on something. My son's 37 years old, still plays baseball. Their league has an insurance policy that they pay into to come to Hammonton to play at the lake. Without that insurance policy, we cannot permit that 37-year-old team on that field. They present that to the Little League and to the town of Hammonton. There's, I think, 10 teams throughout the county, or not just the county, between Atlantic and Cape May County. They have their own insurance policy, and they present that to each town they go to. That's all we're asking for, and then we're good to go.
I'm sorry
Dan,
to
I'm
jump
sorry,
in.
what's your
address? Your
My address?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dan Bachalis, 115 Bachelor Lane with a T.
Gotcha.
Actually, I wanted to say something else about a couple of other topics, but what I would like to do, and I hope our chairperson, Alicia Murphy, doesn't beat me up on this, but I'm also a member of the Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee for the town, and I'd like to suggest that perhaps we can work with the folks on some possible solutions, maybe thinking a little bit outside the box so that we don't spend the rest of our evening here being a little testy. I also want to point out that Ms. Kinsley is one of the best, most thoughtful and encouraging parents that I've come across in this town. And I've met a lot of really good parents in this town. She and her kids, you may recall, and I think we'll talk about this a little later in closing comments, she and her kids came up with the idea for what we now call the Leviathan, sitting in, Hammonton Lake Park, promoting reusable bags and the end of single-use plastic bags. Without their creativity, and frankly, without their confidence in coming to this council and also the Environmental Commission, that unique public informational sculpture would never have been created, and as a result, the Hammonton has gained a lot of notoriety, positive notoriety, bad word, positive publicity, positive reputation in the county, and throughout the state, because I made sure that our folks at the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions knew about it. You've all seen the coverage we got from NJ.com, which is all over the web, and it's because of this fine woman and her kids. So I'd like to offer the assistance of the Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee to work with them to come up with some solutions that I think will satisfy everybody. And I also would also note, since I'm talking about bike and pedestrian, we had a very successful first annual bike rodeo at the elementary school parking lot this past Sunday, teaching kids bike safety and having an all-around good time with some assistance, great assistance from our police department and from the toy market. So shameless plug. But anyway, we can maybe, I'm not sure what we can come up with, but I think there are solutions if we think outside the box. Okay.
A use of facilities permit and some
I
insurance.
understand that, and don't worry about it. We'll take care of everything. You know that Dan has a plan.
And I know that Dan has made a commitment that his nice sculpture that made a good public statement on the use of single-use bags. After you get done guessing how many bags are on the Leviathan, we'll come down.
Yeah, Jonathan's going to talk about that a little bit more.
I think you can hit on that while you're up here, if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, we are, thankfully the plastic bag ban is in effect. Reusable bags are the way to go. And the Leviathan has served its purpose, educating the town and people from throughout the region, frankly, about the scourge of plastic bags and the need for reusable bags and the need to get away from our throwaway mentality and develop a more circular economy. We are going to be dismantling the Leviathan over the next few weeks, but first, we want to give people an opportunity to have a little fun with it, take a guess at how many plastic bags we actually used in putting the beast together. It's more than 50, I can tell you that. But we'll be sending out some notices via Facebook and et cetera, various social media. Hopefully we'll have it on the town media. And we'll be getting the word out. So please take an opportunity to come out to Hammonton Lake Park, check out the beast, the Leviathan. It is an octopus. It is not a sandworm from the movie Dune, although that would be really cool too. Take a guess. We will let you know how to get your guesses submitted, and we will have an unveiling once we dismantle and go through counting all of the bags that we used.
And disposing of them properly.
We will be taking care of that. All those bags will be used to create new products.
Let's hope.
So, and we'll deal with the rest of it as we
they
go.
don't fall
in a
apart
very
in the meantime.
environmentally sensitive manner,
Dan.
because that's what we do. All right.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Dan.
you.
Thank you.
Can we move on from this topic?
Yes.
Because I just want to say two other things that actually
Only if
well, I'll take care of it.
they're
I got-
comfortable or have
Yeah, go on.
others
While
that
you're
will
here, if-
speak on it.
Dan, if you have something else to say while you're here.
Okay. I just wanted to note, I want to thank you for hearing the really fine report by Clay Emerson from Princeton Hydro tonight. And I would ask that as you refer this to committee, I assume PWT, Public Works Committee, that I would ask that you also involve the Hammonton Lake Water Quality Advisory Committee in the discussions. They probably left now. We had some members from the committee here today to hear the presentation. We were the ones who put together the $20,000 grant application. We'd like to be involved in the discussion because stormwater management directly affects the quality of the lake water. That's one thing. Where my other hat, the Environmental Commission, I don't know what the content of the proposed ordinance on electric vehicles is, but if it's possible, you could also involve the Environmental Commission in a review of that, so we could also make a recommendation to the Land Use Board as appropriate. Again, I don't know what's involved in it. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. So if that's something
Actually,
that...
there's not much that can be changed in it. It's, by state state statute.
Okay.
The governor already signed the law, and it's already amended the municipal land use law, and it's mandatory that almost the entirety of, except for one section, only the planning board only has the ability to comment on one section.
Uh-huh.
And if you guys want to take a look at it along with them, you can, but the main gist of it is set in stone already. The DCA doesn't allow any changes to it.
Oh, that's all right. I know how the state works. I've worked there for 36 plus
But if you
years.
want to look. you
Yeah,
can
oh,
look.
we would like to,
Today.
we would love to take a look at it. Yep. If we have a copy that's specific to Hammond, that'd be great. So, thanks very much.
Thank you, Daniel. Seeing no one else, I guess we'll close that public portion. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
I just have one thing. I know it's been a long meeting, but on June 11th, there is a cancer walk honoring Dawn Baldwin at the Hammonton Middle School. It starts at 8:30 a.m. There's a $20 registration fee. It all goes for a good cause. I've done those walks a number of years as a kid and as a young adult, and this year honoring a very special person in our community that we just recently lost. So I apologize for not bringing it up as part of my report, but I didn't want it to go unnoticed from our council meeting today. So again, that's June 11th at 8:30 at the Hammonton Middle School.
Thank you very much.
Two things. I'd like to seek authorization, if it's okay with mayor and council, to write that letter on behalf of the Pinelands Alliance, committee, if the council so directs.
Sorry, Bobby, I didn't hear that.
The letter for Pinelands in support of the
Pinelands Alliance.
Pinelands Alliance. Is that something this council wants to do? Is council interested in doing that? Somebody like to make a motion in support of it? We'll take a vote. Bobby,
Bobby, why don't you repeat that part? I think it kind of got lost, what you were speaking in your report about what you're asking for right now.
The town got a letter from the Pinelands Conservation Alliance indicating that they're going to be making applications for funding associated with it for all lake communities that would develop some type of program that would enhance the water quality of the Hammonton Lake or the surroundings of the Hammonton Lake. So it would involve conversation with residents along the front of the lake. And actually, we did talk with the Lake Water Quality Committee, and they said they thought it would be a good idea to write that letter. And we thought it might also be advantageous in relation to the improvements that we're doing down the Hammonton Lake Park. If we have to go to Pinelands anyway to seek any kind of recharge areas we're putting. So if we get some kind of backing from Pinelands Conservation Alliance.
Is there a draft letter they want us to?
Yeah, they did.
So this is just a letter to support this.
I would like to make changes to their letter.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we get the letter and get it around committee and approve it, and then to make sure it's something that we could see what's in the letter. I don't want to make, until we see the letter, I don't want to just say yay or nay real quick in haste.
Okay. And what we can do is, if you want, the same committee that's looking at the Princeton Hydro plan or possibility, we can discuss that at the same time.
You got it.
So I guess that's a public work item?
Yes.
I got one other thing. Actually, a year ago or ago, we had gotten a flag and two Tree City signs that we wanted to install in the town of Hammonton's properties to, alert that the town did receive those funds, and it's Tree City. One of the locations we were looking at is as you're coming into town, going northbound along 54, we were thinking about putting one in front of the water department property, but right next to Wawa, and they are facing that particular direction.
It's just a street sign, just a typical street sign. Just for everyone who saw, that was what we displayed last year when the signs were here. It's not overly large sign. It's just a normal size.
Can we
street
just put a street sign on 54?
No, actually, we're looking at a couple other locations. We're looking at Egg Harbor Road as a possibility, maybe near the lake or somewhere
Yeah,
around
no, I'm
there.
just saying,
Or even on Route 30, but we have to put it on,
An
if we had to
entranceway.
put it within there right away, we got to get a permit.
Yeah, that's what I'm
If we
saying,
put
we
it-
have to get a permit from the county or the state.
We're not going to put it within the right of way. This would be on town property at the water department.
Okay.
And if it's at the lake park or somewhere near there,
So
if
it's
on
going to be, it's
town.
going to be how far into the property?
It's probably about 5 or 10 feet into the property.
But there's a fence there.
No, there's not a fence in this location. There's a fence probably about 50 feet away.
Let's take a look at it and let's see what type of sign. We want to do something that's tastefully done and not just
Almost should dance.
not just a green breakaway pole. Let's see what we have and what we can do to do something nice.
All right,
Right?
we actually
Sure.
painted in the grass the location of, or the orientation. So what I can do is go out and put some lath, where that location might be, and take a picture of the sign and
Yeah,
forward
see
it.
how high we want it to stick up, the location. And let's approve it and move forward. But let's take a look at it. All right?
Yep. A lot of towns make it part of their.
If anybody wants to say something, please come up to the mic.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
if there's
please.
anyone outside, they need to come back in because we're about ready to close the session.
Yeah, if you have something,
Okay.
please.
April Martin. I live at 4100 Anna Drive. That's not safe. Hammonton, New Jersey, 08037. I'm a parent of a skateboarder. He is just accepted in the Honor Society. He's an outstanding child and an outstanding student. Skateboarding has only made him better. He's pushed himself to limits I've never seen a child really get. He practices day in and day out. I am also a homeowner, and I've been a member of the community for about 16 years. I work in the industry, I work in insurance. I feel like that's just a talking point. I understand the insurance aspect of it, but that's a conversation that probably should have been had open and discussed. We are here pleading with you as parents for help. We understand that there's setbacks, hurdles, and things we need to overcome in order to bring skateboarding to our community. We in Atlantic County have no skate parks. We have one that's just came officially into existence, and that's in Atlantic City on Sovereign Ave. And they even themselves needed to utilize unique approaches. I think it was some sort of art grant at first. It was like functional artwork or something, the skate park itself. And then it evolved into the city taking ownership of it and therefore bringing it under its umbrella of municipal insurance policies. That's what ideally we want to get to. I mean, I know we really want to do these pop-up skate parks just so that the kids have something, because we have literally nothing. As a homeowner and working in the insurance industry, I'm very familiar with applications for home insurance policies. There is a question on there about swimming pools, trampolines, and skateboard ramps. If you own a skateboard ramp and you say yes, you're now looking at policy premiums that exceed $2,000, $3,000 for a simple home insurance policy. This isn't an option even for us homeowners. Even if you have the means and the ability to build a skate park at your property, on your driveways, you can't have other friends come over with your children and enjoy the sport together because of the liability. So yes, I do have skate ramps at my house in my driveway for my children's personal use. That is it. No one else is allowed there. And that really does hurt the sport. It hurts what they can do. It hurts what they push themselves to do. My child does 10 times better with other kids. So I just really want to see where we can get to a point where we can all work together. I'm a parent. There are other parents that were here that really want to work together with our municipalities and with the communities and get the skate parks built and allow pop-ups when we can, or however we can.
Ma'am, I'd like to say just one thing. I wish Joe was back in the room here, because he was advised at our Parks and Recs meeting the first time he came. We need, as you say, you're in the industry. We need a policy, Joe. And then we're willing to ready and go and talk.
Well,
Joe, we need the policy.
I know.
And he's been
Denise
told
Mazzio
this,
from the third floor.
not
has
just
told-
1 month, 2 months, 3 months,
That's
4
all-
months.
that's all
Please
well and good,
don't
but-
make us believe that, don't believe that we didn't try to explain ourselves.
I'm just saying that I've talked to other municipalities in the state. This is not like this happens with every community that isn't able to push through a skate park. It's always a group of committee that is just stopping at insurance. That's not the end point. Brick Township, all of Ocean County has, I think they're up to like 11. They just put 2 skate parks out in 1 year. Cape May County has several, Atlantic County has none. We can together get a skate park together built in Hammonton. My son is actively trying to get Mullica Township. So what do you need to see for us to come and continue the conversation? Yes, we can obtain policy, but that doesn't apply to a skate park. That doesn't fall on, there's no league, there's no team sport, and that's a big part of skateboarding. It's inclusive. Everybody is invited. Anybody can skate. Young, women, men, children, all ages can skate. So there's no league that's going to exist. It's just like a park, any kind of park where you play baseball.
We're not denying anyone. Joe could tell you that. He's sitting here now. We told him it may take a year, 2 years. We're in the process of a very big expansion in our facilities.
Sure.
He could come every month. He's welcome. It's something that ain't going to happen, ma'am, in the next 2 months.
We're not looking for it to come in the next 2 months, but we're looking for.
You're not talking apples to apples here, man.
Yeah, I think okay, how are you making out with Mullica Township? Because I know you're a resident of Mullica Township.
Yeah, that's technically.
So how are you making out with them?
We have the complete support of the rec committee. Insurance isn't something that they're really.
So do they
concerned
provide an area where you can do this pop-up?
Yeah, they've discussed an area in the Rex field where they would have to clear, and they've discussed another type of sporting area that they would expand to.
See, what the problem is, and this is what I tried to explain on the phone. Hammonton is a town of 15,000.
Correct.
These skate parks are very expensive and very costly to maintain. Most of the areas you're talking about, the county has open space, and they have open space money, and they have recreational money in the millions, where Hammonton has a $100,000 budget for recreation. The county we have a $15 million budget. Atlantic County has a $225 million budget. So they charge recreational money. That's why Ocean County has all the parks you're speaking of, because the county is doing them.
So how do we get your help and get Atlantic County on
We
board?
would support, this council, I'm sure, would support that.
Good. What does
We
it
would
go
support
nowhere.
that, but you have
Nowhere.
to start with the county.
Okay.
You have to start with the county and the county exec, Denny Levinson.
Okay.
And he could help, because that's where you
He was my old
ultimately.
history teacher. So.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Then you got an
And
in.
you're in the
Because
industry.
then,
You're on your way. I mean,
because that's what you need. You need somebody that has the money available. We can't just say we're going to spend $1 million here for a skate park. We want to. Believe me, we want to. But there's so many needs that we have to focus on in this small community. You have to go somewhere. Ocean County I bet you Ocean County's budget is probably $500 to $700 million. We're only 15 million.
All right. Well, we're a little closer to Cape May.
Cape May's budget is probably in the $200 to $400 million.
Well, the
You're
Ocean
talking
City skate park
and
apparently.
he mentioned Ocean City earlier. Can you imagine what their budgets are?
That skate park, the Ocean City skate park, is the second one in the last decade, I think, that was built, and it was part of the Green Acres County, Cape May County.
Right. They
But we
build
don't,
it.
do you know how hard it is for just the public to kind of figure this out? That's why we are showing up here. So yes, insurance might be your issue, but we need.
I'll tell you what Hammonton will do. We will absolutely get you a location for this if you can get the money out of the county to build it.
If we can get grants out of the county?
The money out of the county to build it. We have property that you can build that on, but we don't have the wherewithal to provide the property and building.
And insurance will not be an issue?
The insurance would come under the county. It would come under the county. It would be on our property. It would be located in the town of Hammonton.
But it would be a county
But it
park.
would be a county park.
Okay.
And Hammonton.
Okay. I mean, we can definitely go that route and attempt that.
We would love to help you out, but we don't have the wherewithal that these other counties have.
Okay. Well, thank you
Thank
for listening.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Does anybody else from the public like to be heard?
Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe, we're here for you.
Yeah,
We're here for you, Joe. You know that.
If we want to what?
Roast me. It's
No.
it's
roast
a
you.
joke,
You
it's a
know
joke,
that.
it's a joke.
No, we're telling you.
been telling you
We're
for a
telling
few
you.
months now.
We're telling you if you can get Atlantic County to put up open space money or their rec money, we'll provide a piece of property.
For sure. Okay.
But if we have to Hammonton is not a large enough budget to
Wait a minute,
carry
we'll
the
get it for you.
water.
Joe, one thing, he does need your name and address and all, please. I know you've given it to us before.
Yeah, sure. Joe Kaluki, Kalucki, 1413 Mays Landing Road. It's Folsom. But I spend half my paycheck at El Mariachi.
I'm just going to be smart for a second.
Sure.
We can't get the county to help us do a ditch. Good luck. Go ahead.
We can skate a ditch. I mean, that's fine. Fine. I think, well, first I want to acknowledge the young kids that showed up and sat through a
They're great
stormwater
kids.
presentation.
Great kids.
We want kids to engage, and that's great that they come out, so I just want to acknowledge that they were here. I think, too, I want to acknowledge that it's probably safe to say that no one here is an expert in skate parks and skateboarding. Is that a safe assumption? You probably got a mean kickflip, right? I'm sorry. So right, no one here is an expert.
Baseball.
No one here is an expert in skateboarding. We're not an expert in civics. We're not. So that's why we're here tonight, to try and help. And I think what's frustrating with the younger kids is they see basically a lot of why we can't and not how we can. And that's what I want to see more of. I don't want to discourage the young kids from coming here. I really don't. I don't want to discourage them from politics. I don't want them to be another kid that leaves their hometown because they weren't happy, that it doesn't have all the things that they need. So I think there is a solution here, and we want to be positive, and we want to work together to figure out what that is. And our idea was to provide kind of all this stuff, this liability, this waiver stuff, but it sounds like we need our own sort of insurance to make that happen. Do I have that right?
Correct.
Okay. I think part of the issue is, skateboarding is not as cohesive as a lot of the mainstream sports. So like baseball has Little League, right? Soccer has, I'm sure, some federation. Skateboarding doesn't have that because there aren't any teams, there aren't any coaches. So trying to figure that landscape out is super hard, but if there's a solution out there, we'll try and find it. That being said, also, we're just a bunch of, adults and kids who skateboard and don't have a lot of money to put up front for insurance things, and there's no teams and things like that to kind of crowdfund. I mean, it is an option for sure, but it's not something that's kind of in that skate culture realm. I saw a question over here. Oh, okay, yeah. So, I mean, I'm happy to continue to come to meetings. I think Hammonton would be a great spot for this because there's only one skate park in Atlantic County. It sits right between people coming to the shore from Philadelphia, pop into Vinyl, go skate a ramp. That'd be a great combination for the town.
So the county does have a skate park in it, and I was told earlier the county did not.
It's not a county park. It's not a county park. It's in Atlantic City. It's just a skate park.
The city takes care of it, right?
City takes care of it.
So-
Also, Mayor, you mentioned something about maintenance. Concrete parks basically require zero maintenance. There's no maintenance involved.
No.
Yeah.
No, there'd have to be some cleaning of it, some sweeping of it.
Well, I mean, you were saying that a lot of maintenance. It's a
No,
concrete
I didn't say
park.
a lot, but there's daily maintenance. There's daily maintenance.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, any other concerns, questions, I'm happy to talk through. I would just love, I think we would love maybe someone on council to talk to reach out who'd be interested in this, to move this forward.
We're interested.
Okay.
I'm telling you right now, we will provide a piece of property that
through the
can
county.
handle that, but we can't do the cost of the infrastructure.
Okay.
So if you can get the county to partner with the town of Hammonton, we're in.
It seems
It's
hard.
done deal. Huh? You would need, come on up to the mic. I'm sure.
We fundraise as well.
You could.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, are we able to fundraise in addition, or does it have to be completely county supported?
No, sure you could fundraise, but a project like that, anything the town does has to be union scale, right? Prevailing rate. So it's not going to be a cheap project. I would say a skate park is probably in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It ranges, but yeah, you're there. Yeah, you're there. Yeah, between 200,000 and 400,000. I think 6,000. Yeah, for a concrete park that would last. I don't know. Probably outlast me.
You could fundraise and come up with all the money.
We have volunteers that can help you with that too.
Thank you so much. That's all. That's really all we're looking for. Is just yeah. Okay.
I'll take your contact after the meeting.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
I really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah.
We want to help you. We just don't have the wherewithal to do it all.
I will also add, there is currently a petition going at skate park with over 300 signatures. Over half are from Hammonton residents. That's still ongoing. So this is an issue that people in Hammonton care about. Just something to think about come November. So. Thanks so
Very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public like to be heard?
Hunton, 30 Woodman Ave in Hammonton. My son is one of the skaters and that whole group of his friends. And I just want to thank you for the time and also to mention thanks to those kids that come to these meetings. Oh my God, can you imagine these kids sitting here for 2 hours, the patience. And I hope that you guys, when they come to these meetings, keep in mind that they're here and like, they're seeing our government in action. So I don't want them to be discouraged. I'm glad that you're open to listening, and I hope we get this moving forward. I've offered to help as well. And the kids just want to keep coming to the meetings because they think it's going to work, you know? So if you can encourage them when you see them out and about, I'd appreciate it. They're good kids. They're not doing drugs. They're not doing crime. I mean, you know, the cops hassle them once in a while, but not really. I mean, they know they're just out there being kids, you know, they're just doing their thing. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm proud of the kids. They're outside now because they were ready to go, but that was a good show for them. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Does anybody else have anything for the good of the order? I accept the motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Liva?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, Hammonton. Thank you.